Hello from Epic Snap Stories. Today I'm going to explain a sci-fi thriller movie called The Box. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins as the deputy director of the National Security Agency, or NSA, receives a classified note from the CIA. It reveals that Arlington Stewart, a NASA employee who was struck by lightning, has recovered incredibly fast from his severe burn wounds. Stewart is now making several strange devices and delivering them to private residences. 5 months later, in Virginia, Arthur and Norma Lewis are woken up early in the morning when someone rings their doorbell. As Norma, who has a disfigured right foot, gingerly gets to the door, she sees a black car driving away through the peephole. She then opens the door and notices a plain brown box left on their porch. Later, the husband and wife open it up while having breakfast with their son, Walter. They find a wooden box with a button, but it can only be accessed through a key. There's also an envelope with a note that says Mr. Stewart will call them at 5 p.m. The family doesn't know anyone with that name, so they just get on with their day. Shortly afterwards, Walter and Norma arrive at elite boarding school. The little boy studies in grade 5 while his mother teaches literature to high school students. However, that afternoon, Norma gets bad news that makes her anxious. The principal tells her that they will no longer provide any faculty discount for her son's tuition fees. He tries to elaborate on this decision, but suddenly his nose starts bleeding. Norma gives the principal a tissue paper and tries to be understanding about the whole affair. But deep inside, she is greatly worried as her family is already living paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, Arthur goes to his job at NASA where he works in the optics department. He was a key member of the team involved in designing the camera for the Viking Mars probe. He is also working on a personal side project, trying to create a prosthesis for Norma's foot. Suddenly, the director of the optics department, Cahill, hands him a letter from the astronaut division. It is revealed that Arthur had applied to go to space, which is a lifelong dream of his. But he is devastated to learn that it is a letter of rejection. It states that he failed the psychological exams despite acing every other test. When Norma returns home that evening, she receives a visit from Mr. Arlington Stewart. He is a tall, sharply dressed man, but one side of his face is messed up due to burn wounds. The gentleman hands Norma the key that opens the lid of the box. Furthermore, he gives her an offer. If she or her husband presses the red button, someone they don't know will die, and they will receive $1 million in return. As proof of his intentions, Stewart gifts her a crisp $100 bill. He then details the rules of this offer. He cannot disclose any information about the identity of his employers, while Norma and her husband aren't allowed to discuss the details of this with anyone. After giving her 24 hours to make a decision, Stewart quietly leaves the house. A few hours later, Arthur, whose lifelong dream is now over, returns home defeated. The husband and wife share the bad news they got at work before turning their attention towards the box. Norma reveals about Stewart's visit and every other thing that the stranger told her. Arthur then inspects the box closely and even manages to open its base. To their surprise, it is completely empty inside, devoid of even the most basic electronics or wiring. This makes them wonder how someone could know if the button gets pressed at all. Nonetheless, the couple also realize that if they don't decide quickly, they could soon be in deep financial trouble. The next day, one of Arthur's co-workers, Jeffrey Carnes, receives a troubling call from his wife. She reveals that she saw a woman being kidnapped while she was in a grocery store. Jeffrey, who is being watched by someone from afar, tells her to go home and lock all the doors. On the other hand, Arthur returns home from work that evening and confirms that the $100 bill given by Stewart is real. He and Norma then sit down to determine what they should do next. Their financial problems are mounting up and Norma simply pushes the button on impulse. Seconds later, in another part of the city, cops arrive at a house to investigate reports of a gunshot. They find a dead woman in the living room while a little girl is locked in the bathroom. Meanwhile, Stewart arrives at the Lewis household and gives them a suitcase with $1 million. He coldly confirms that someone has died because of their choice. Stewart then grabs the box, which he intends to take to a new person. But before leaving, he says something very chilling. When the box is handed to the next person, anyone close to the Lewis family might also die. A frightened Arthur tries to return the suitcase back, but Stewart ignores him and drives away. The couple, however, manages to write down his license plate number. At the local police station, Norma's father, Dick, is working on the dead woman's case. It is then revealed that the woman is none other than Jeffrey's wife. The police suspect that the husband is behind the murder as he is nowhere to be found. Later that night, Arthur gives Norma the prosthesis he made specially for her. It fits her perfectly and allows her to walk without pain or limping. The couple then head to the rehearsal dinner of Norma's sister's wedding. There, the bride's parents are raffling the donated gifts for the holiday season. Arthur gets to choose the first gift and he picks a plain brown box which looks like the one Stewart left them. He brings it back to the table and opens it with Norma. To their horror, it contains a picture of Stewart from when he still had his whole face intact. After a while, Arthur lies to his father-in-law, Dick, that a strange car has been regularly driving past their house. He then shows the license plate number that he noted down yesterday and asks his father-in-law to check the registration. Once they are back home, Arthur intently looks at Stewart's picture and realizes that he's seen him before. He then rushes to look at a poster of the first Viking trip to Mars and makes a shocking discovery. Stewart was one of the workers on that very mission. The next day, Stewart calls Norma to warn her about possible consequences of trying to investigate him. But she still wants to meet him in person, and he responds that he's in her backyard. Norma immediately turns around and sees a random man outside staring at her with an open mouth. Stewart then hangs up on her and it is revealed that he is at a hidden office behind NASA's wind tunnels. In the meantime, Arthur visits Dick at the police station and comes to know that Stewart's car actually belongs to the NSA. He is trying to process this information when he hears his father-in-law talking about a murder that took place at the same time Norma pressed the button. Arthur, who is desperate to find any clues, asks to be taken to the crime scene. Soon afterwards, they reach Jeffrey's house where Arthur finds a picture of Stewart on the table. There is also a small booklet called Human Resource Exploitation Manual with a call number written on it. A call number is a unique address that points where the book is located in a library. So, Arthur steals the booklet while Dick is busy elsewhere. Elsewhere, Norma is shopping with her mother when a random woman approaches them. The stranger tells Norma that NSA is letting him do it, that NASA can't stop him, and that the subjects are all happily married young couples with a child. The stranger also gives her a note with a series of numbers before passing out with a bleeding nose. A shocked Norma looks at the note and realizes that it contains a call number from Richmond Library. In the next scene, both Norma and Arthur separately go to the library, following the clues they got. Her call number leads her to a film roll that contains video recording from NASA. Turns out the footage is from the launch of the first Viking Mars probe where Stewart was struck by lightning. There's also a clip of him attending a press conference right before the tragedy. After watching the whole video, Norma is guided by two women to a huge hall where Stewart seems to be waiting for her. He tells Norma that since he got struck by lightning, he's been in communication with alien life forms. He also wants to know what Norma felt the first time she saw his disfigured face. Norma answers that she felt love because she knows how much pain disfigurement causes in someone's life. At least she can keep her foot hidden while Stewart has to carry his half-burnt face openly. Norma adds that she would never feel sorry for herself again. Surprised by her words, Stewart extends his hand towards her. Norma lovingly grabs it but immediately falls unconscious. On the other hand, Arthur's call number leads him to a book that contains a newspaper article about a NASA employee who was struck by lightning. As soon as he finishes reading it, a group of people guide him to the library's reception where Stewart's wife, Clymene, is waiting. She takes Arthur to another room where 3 gateways appear from the floor. Arthur must now carefully choose because only one gateway leads to salvation while the other 2 lead to eternal damnation. Clymene extends her hand and starts bleeding as she activates the gateways, which become 3 columns of water. Arthur then chooses the second gateway and gets absorbed by a blinding white light. Moments later, he and the water column show up in his room, indicating that he made the right choice. He floats above a sleeping Norma, who wakes up right before him, and the water falls on the bed. Seconds later, Walter comes to check on them and tells Norma that last night she arrived home looking like a zombie. Apparently, she didn't say anything and went straight to bed. Meanwhile, Cahill secretly meets with an NSA employee and the two have a conversation about Arlington Stewart. Turns out, after getting hit by lightning, Stewart had died and his body was taken to the morgue. But hours later, he came back to life and was transferred to a high-security military hospital. Since then, Stewart has been demonstrating some extraordinary capabilities like healing faster and halted cellular deterioration. Back at his secret hideout, Stewart has a conversation with one of his men. It is now obvious that an advanced alien lifeform had contacted Stewart after he was struck by lightning. These aliens asked him to devise a test so that they can check whether humanity should be allowed to exist or not. Furthermore, Stewart explains that homes, cars, and TVs are all boxes. In fact, he argues that the human body is also a box for the soul. That is exactly why he chose a box for this test of humanity's future. This test can only be passed when enough people refuse to press the button, choosing to work for the greater good rather than their own personal benefit. It is also revealed that Stewart's men are preparing for another test in Massachusetts. Later that night, the Lewis family goes to her sister's wedding. Arthur and Norma dance, and he describes his experience in the library as a warm embrace, neither here nor in the afterlife, but something in between. But as he is talking, he suddenly begins to feel nauseous and goes outside for a breather. Seconds later, Jeffrey arrives at the spot and points a gun towards Arthur. He begins muttering senselessly, saying it's too late for him, but he can still save others. He then forces a confused-looking Arthur to get in a truck with him. Meanwhile, Walter and Norma notice that Arthur is missing and rush to find him. But a group of men arrive out of nowhere and kidnap them both. In the truck, Jeffrey shows Arthur some classified files that document Stewart's actions after he came back from the dead. It is revealed that Jeffrey had undergone the same box test that Arthur is currently going through. Jeffrey ultimately had to kill his own wife for the sake of his daughter who had been abducted by Stewart. Shortly after, the truck comes to a stop when Jeffrey sees a man dressed as Santa Claus blocking the road. But before the men can investigate further, their truck is suddenly hit by another vehicle, revealing Santa to be one of Stewart's employees. When the police arrive, however, they only find Jeffrey's body inside the truck. The scene abruptly shifts and Arthur finds himself leaving a NASA hangar. Cahill, who has been waiting there, tells Arthur that whatever he does next will have greater ramifications than anyone can possibly imagine. Following this, Arthur and Norma are taken back to their home, where Stewart is waiting for them with a final test. He has genetically modified Walter and made him deaf and blind. The poor boy is currently locked in the bathroom upstairs. Now, his parents must choose between two extremely difficult options. The first is that they live the rest of their lives enjoying their money and dealing with a disabled son. The second is that Arthur can kill Norma, which will give Walter his senses back. If they choose the second option, the money will be put into an account and Walter can access it when he turns 18. Stewart then puts a revolver on a table and asks them to make their decision. Furious, Arthur grabs the gun and points it at Stewart's head. But the latter explains that killing him will only put Arthur in prison while someone else will be sent to carry out these tests. After Stewart leaves, the couple rushes to the bathroom, but it's locked and they cannot kick the door down as Walter is on the other side. Norma then decides that she can't see their son like this, so she asks Arthur to shoot her. Our hero is devastated by what greed has done to them, but he too agrees with her decision. The couple then kisses passionately and Arthur pulls the trigger, putting a bullet through Norma's heart. At the same time, another couple in the neighborhood pushes the button on the box. Meanwhile, Arthur returns to the bathroom door to talk to his son, but the cops arrive and take him away immediately. Instead of being sent away in a police car, he's put inside a black car belonging to the NSA. Cahill tells Arthur not to worry because he'll take good care of Walter, who has now recovered his senses. As the movie ends, Stewart retrieves the box from the other family's house, ready to hand it out to someone new.
Underneath the moonlit skies, where secrets share and magic flies, your heart beat close, we harmonize. In your gaze the world defies. Whisper soft on lovers' shore, hands entwined we crave for more. With every touch our spirits soar. In your love I find my core. ballet. Together we chase night to day. Love. Together we chase night to day. Underneath the moonlit skies, where secrets share and magic flies, your heartbeat close, we harmonize. In your gaze the world defies. Whisper soft on lover's shore, hands entwined we crave for more. With every touch our spirits soar. In your love I find my core. Lost in your eyes, can't find my way. In your arms I want to stay. With you love feels like a ballet. Together we chase night to day. Lord.